Thank you. My name's Dan Carty, 15 Stonebrook Road in Sudbury. I'm a member of the Sudbury Board of Selectmen, but I'm here tonight as a private citizen, as an abutter. Given I've only got 3 minutes, I'm going to move as quickly as I can, even though I only had a couple of hours notice to get with this documentation today, which I don't think is fair. I believe that there are a number of inconsistencies, omissions, and errors in the documentation that's provided. I will give details in written form, but there's a few that I want to call to your attention today. And again, these were ones that I found in looking through this document in less than an hour. Okay? So I'll call your attention to the ENF form, bottom of page 2. Identify any financial assistance or land transfer from an agency of the Commonwealth, including agency name and the amount of funding or land area in acres. Answer, none. That land is actually owned by the MBTA. Bottom of page, I guess this would be the bottom of page 3. I'm glad you mentioned the rail trail MEPA study that had been done. This is actually referenced on the bottom of this page as EEA number 15123. I don't think it's fair to compare the two projects, as the rail trail was looking for a 19-foot wide path, whereas this is looking for anywhere between 30 and 50. However, I think there was a lot of really good analysis and legwork done in that voluminous information available on the Commonwealth's website, and much of which seems to be in contradiction to what has been presented here. And I will point out a couple. First and foremost, about 2/3 of the way down page 5, it is assumed that the duck bank will be installed above the existing culverts along the right-of-way. There are 3 existing bridges over water bodies along the right-of-way. Based on a preliminary engineering review, the company plans to reuse the existing bridge structures and rehabilitate them to accommodate a utility crossing. The bridge improvements will also incorporate a future multi-use path in accordance with DCR's proposed design plans. Now, if you go to the MCRT feasibility study, it actually calls for a number of those culverts to be replaced, as well as bridge number 127 over Hop Brook, in order to bring it up to standards for a DCR path. That is in direct contradiction to what is being said in these documents here. Bottom of page 6, the overhead transmission line would require tree clearing along the full width of the right-of-way and result in significantly greater environmental impacts. Other roadway options, including routes located entirely in roadways, would result in greater impacts to the natural and or developed environments of the proposed route. Just out of curiosity here, I'd really like to know how road options would have a greater natural impact than going through the middle of the woods. Bottom of page, throughout page 7, bottom of page 7, right at the bottom, typical mitigation options under CMP may include off-site habitat protection or funding of programs that directly benefit the affected species. I realize this isn't specific to this project, but if that's how these projects are normally done, if I understand that correctly, we're going to kill off species, but make up for it by funding programs to help save species. That just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Okay, page 9, under rare species. We talked a number of times about how this form was incomplete and in error. Under rare species, you provide a hyperlink that does not work.
Okay, sorry, sir, I have to ask you to wrap it up, please.
Okay, I will wrap it up. Water resources. There are 15 certified vernal pools within a half-mile radius of this project. Most of them are within feet of this site. Are there any impaired water bodies on or within a half-mile radius of this project site? They answered no. Per that same MCRT expanded environmental notification form, page 839, table 6, both Hop Brook and Washbrook are noted as impaired category 5 waterways, not within a half-mile of the project, but the path crosses right over the top of them. So another error. So back to the ENF document about halfway through page 10.
Yep.
It contradicts itself under solid. I shouldn't say contradicts itself, but under solid and hazardous waste, I think it's disingenuous when it says this project may generate solid waste, where, you know, about a page before or after it says we will. So, you know, I think the choice of words is very important in a document like this, because this gives the chance that you're not going to generate solid waste when in fact you're going to by your own omission. I would, on page 12, under impacts and permits, I would ask that the math be checked, because somehow there's existing plus change equals existing as far as the numbers go, so I'm not quite sure how that works out. And then under, this is the land section part of the document, and then under section 2D, It says, does any part of this project involve conversion of land held for natural resources, et cetera, up through, basically it's talking about Article 97, and the box is check no. I would ask that that be confirmed. And then on same section 2, subsection E, it talks about, is any part of the project site currently subject to a conservation restriction, preservation restriction, or agricultural preservation? I would defer to my friends on the Concom here in either Sudbury or Hudson to confirm that, because we have both boxes checked no on this one, and I believe that at least some of those conditions would be met. Moving along, on page 13, I guess that would be under consistency, section 3, consistency, section B, subsection 3, open space impacts. This project will be built within an existing inactive MBTA corridor and will not have any direct impacts to open space, except for the thousands of trees that you're going to cut down. So I think, again, a little disingenuous with the wording on that one. Page 14, under rare species section, there's a number of issues wrong. With this one, I will just say, how do we allow TBD and blanks? They just decided not to answer most of these questions in here. They didn't check yes, they didn't check no. I would just call out here that, again, referencing that November 2013 expanded ENF for the MCRT project, it clearly states that there's identified a priority habitat polygon in Sudbury, which, you know, it's the same property that they're going to use for this project. And then again, in here, you know, they're not acknowledging endangered species, but then at the bottom of the page they are. So again, just, I think, lack of general consistency in here. And then last but not least, on this section, or on this topic, page 15, number 4, has the site been surveyed for rare species in accordance with the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act? After all of this and listing out some of the different species that live in here, this box is checked no. So I would just wonder why that hasn't been done yet. Let's see, what else? Again, trying to stick to an additional 3 minutes. Page 18. This is important. Section 3, waterways and tideland impacts and permits. Section 3A, it says, it says, does the project site contain waterways or tidelands that are subject to Waterways Act, MGL, Chapter 91? Their answer here is potential navigable waters the project will cross include Fort Meadowbrook and Hudson and Hop Brook and Sudbury. That's incorrect. It's straight out incorrect. This actually also crosses Hop Brook, Wash Brook, and Dudley Brook, all of which are navigable waterways, according again to that same research that had been done for the MCRT project. So I would put a big red circle around that one as incorrect. Section 3, Part B, talks about, does the project require a new or modified license or permit under MGL 91? And again, going back to my comment earlier, that if they really are going to build this and give DCR something with which they can build a rail trail on top of, in order to do that, they have to do significant repairs or even replace bridge number 127 over Hop Brook, again, as referenced in that same document that I brought up earlier.
Okay. Sorry, I have to ask you to wrap it up, but I'm happy to follow up with you too as well.
Okay, I think you get the gist here, that there's a lot more in here, and this was me spending about an hour on this, where they've got a lot more resources and time than I do, so I would imagine we could probably find some more issues with this, given more time. Thank you.
Thank you.